Story 1. The harp there is an angel perched on my bedside. It whispers a name all to faint. The world has been cruel to me, more cruel than I could ever imagine. Now I doubt what it really means to imagine. I've been seeing the angel for a few weeks. The first time I saw it, I was more frig than I'd ever been in my life. I woke up to its whisper. It was a rough and scathing noise that penetrated my body through my ears and out through my soul. I dared not to open my eyes, as I had the certain feeling that I was being watched. Soon enough, though, my eyes were wide open and I saw it. I didn't believe my sight. I couldn't have. It was only visible as the moonlight shone through my windows and revealed the thing. It sat perched, naked on my bedside with a certain comfort. It was a thin and pale creature. Its arms were folded over its chest, and its taloned feet were planted to my bed in a manner very similar to a bird sitting in its cage. Its head was turned toward me, so in the moonlight I could see its face. Its face was hideous. Its features seemed as if they could have been drilled into its pale canvas, save for its eyes and mouth. Its eyes were large and without pupils, while his mouth was in the formation a long and expressionless frown that extended from the sides of its face. I saw glimpses of the creature's jagged teeth when it spoke, its mouth open ever so lightly when it spoke, and its name gasped from between its teeth as if it were its last breath. It spoke a name that bore itself into my mind, even though it couldn't be heard. I feared it for weeks. I would wait for its appearance each night, and it would always appear when it was the least convenient for myself. One night I stopped eagerly awaiting the creature's return, and it showed me something in my sleep. It gave me the whole world for an instant. I saw a boy born, a soldier die, a young pup picking the bones of its own mother, a woman on a noose, and ungodly things that I could never dare recall, but I remember I will never forget. But it was only in the end of our vision that it showed me truth. I walked naked along the desert sands. I walked nearer and nearer to it, and its name became more and more clear as it whispered. That's when I saw its halo, and I saw my own. The angel sat on a cact U.S. overlooking the desert. It unfolded its arms to reveal a pair of great wings, wings of bone, with a thin flap of pale flesh connecting the angel's arm to the sides of its torso. It raised one wing and slowly crept its other claw to its wing. The angel's claws screeched on the bones of its wing to create a horrid sound. The sound blared through the desert, and the painful noise brought me to my knee. As it played its wing, a group of pale buzzards gathered above the angel. They circled into a halo and hovered mere meters above its head. The screeching sound brought me to fall into the burning sand. I looked into the sky, and as the group of buzzards began to circle around my body, the noise woke me up soon after, and the angel had left. Every night it came to me. Every night I heard the same name. I don't fear it. Not anymore. I don't think I can fear anymore. It's just too late. I knew that the illness that put me in my bed would so unkill me. My body had degraded to a point of no return. I was to die in that bed. In my helplessness, I could no longer move my arms or legs. The medication they had put me on made sure that I felt no earthly pain. But now my body's pain didn't matter. My life was over, and I could do nothing. That is all the pain I would ever need. In this state, I could do nothing but wait for the angel, wondering if it may be his last visit. It appeared in the moonlight again, as it always had. It whispered while it raised its wing. It used it as claw to play on its wing. The music that played through its body was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Now I lie here in my bed, having heard the angel's harp, and I feel my last breath slip. Ting from my soul, I look at the angel for the last time. I see its beauty in its sharp teeth and empty eyes. I hear the beauty of its screeching melody. I hear the beauty of its name whispered in my final moment. Malak Hamavet's story till I plan to delete my YouTube channel. My name is Chloe. I am a 22-year-old college student from Minneapolis, and I am addicted to the internet. I keep a YouTube channel that I update every month with parodies of popular TV shows and the occasional video in which I address my viewers directly. Lately, however, something truly bizarre has been disrupting my channel. It was the morning after I had uploaded a new video to my channel. It had been a thank you to my viewers for helping me reach 100,000 subscribers, along with a montage of myself doing silly things my fans had suggested in the comments. So it came as a surprise when I checked how many views the video had and found it had more dislikes than likes. I had always put a lot of work into my videos, and why subscribers were fiercely loyal, so I failed to see how a video made specifically for them could be received so poorly. Looking through the comments, I saw dozens of phrases like "I don't get it" and what's this supposed to be?" When I scrolled back up to the video, I realized it was not the one I had uploaded last night. The video I had uploaded was 5 minutes long with the title, "Thank You." The video on my screen now was 16 minutes long, and its title was just a timestamp. I went back to the previous page and saw that the real video was indeed on my channel, but this anomaly had been uploaded since then. Curious to see what it was, I clicked on the video and began to watch. My screen showed a girl busy typing away at a computer. Me, nothing happened for the entire duration of the video, and it ended abruptly and without explanation. I realized I must have left my camera running while I was editing "Thank You" and somehow uploaded the junk footage with the intended video. After posting a comment apologizing for my mistake, I grabbed my textbooks and went to school for the day. I would delete the video when I had time that evening. When I got home, I spent the next few hours finishing my homework and tidying my room. I ate a quick supper cobbled together from random stuff in the fridge and got right back to work on my channel. I glared with frustration at the screen when I found that another unwanted video had been uploaded. This one was just over 3 hours long. It began with me lying on the floor, flipping through a text. Later, it showed me walking around my room, reorganizing my bookshelf, and picking up the clothes I had worn yesterday. Near the end of the video, I walked out of the room, probably to get some supper. What was going on with my computer? I had not even touched it since this morning. I had to do something about that camera, or it would only have been a matter of time before a video was posted of me hanging my clothes or drying off after a shower. I delved into the innards of my laptop, trying to find the cancerous bit of code responsible for those accidental videos. I must have gone through why program and file 3 times over, but everything seemed to be in order. I gave up around midnight. I had a class at 8:30 the next morning, and I needed sleep. I put a sheet of paper in front of my camera so that Even if it did upload another video, my viewers would not see anything I did not want them to see. Exhausted, I turned off the lights and went to sleep. I checked my channel before school the next morning. For some reason, it was exploding with activity. Every time I clicked the refresh button, the latest upload on my channel had 100 new views. But how could a 6-hour video with a solid black thumbnail and a timestamp for a title be so popular? I started the video, but nothing appeared to be happening. I looked in the comments for an explanation. Have you lost it? Why would you post this? What happened to the old videos? Is this some kind of joke? I don't know what's going on. Reply, do you see it? Reply, see what? Reply, 30 minutes and 18 seconds. Watch closely. I skipped half an hour into the video, staring hard at the seemingly dead screen. Suddenly, it looked like something was moving. It was a hardly visible black-on-black shift that only lasted a few seconds, but when it was over, I could recognize the faint outlines in the darkness. It was my room, and the movement had been me, shifting in my sleep. How could the camera have seen this? Was the paper I had put in front of it not thick enough? When the Chloe in the video shifted again, I froze. The camera angle in this video was different from the others. My bed could not be seen from my camera. This video had been taken from my bedroom when Story 3 Darkness surrounds me and cold and emptiness. I lay in this void not knowing how long I have lain here, and in the initial grogginess of my awakening I know not why I am here. I turn my gaze from side to side, but can see nothing in the enveloping cheap blackness. I can sense nothing, no sound, no light, no scent, beyond the feel of the smooth stone on which I am resting, and a constant pressure upon the entirety of my being. I feel the coldness of the rock on which I lay seep into my being, and trace a finger across its surface. Delicate swirling patterns, almost too fine to be felt, whirl in the rock beneath my thawing fingertips, like an arcane language I am unable to discern. After a moment, spurred on by my frigid isolation, I began to crawl forwards. In this darkness, I of course cannot know where I am going. I feel an irresistible urge to press forward, as if I am being summoned by some far-off voices united in a silent song. My progress is painful, my limbs weak through lack of use. Just how long have I slept? The pressure clinging to every inch of my form presses against me, weighs down upon me as if from many leagues above, and I am unable to move with any speed. Slowly, maybe as slowly as a glacier cutting through a valley, I edge ever forward towards my goal, though I still cannot know what it is. I have an age to ponder my situation, to bat the cobwebs in my mind away from the memories underneath, though still I cannot. It is difficult to move and difficult to think. I vaguely recollect images of the world above, of the stars shining in the vast, endless ether of the night sky. The memories feel so distant to me now, and just as I am on the cusp of penetrating the fog in my mind, my hand falls upon a small collection of stones. I pause here, startled by the sudden intrusion on the perfect plane I have been traversing, before tentatively reaching out ahead of me. Giddy euphoria envelops me as my hand brushes against the craggy surface of the wall in front of me. Finally, I have something on which to anchor myself, something solid that lets me know there is an end, a periphery to this darkness in which I find myself. I stand, grasping the rough-hewn rock in my hand until my fingers ache. Now I have hold of something tangible, I do not wish to return to the emptiness behind me. I take a moment to compose myself and begin my ascent. While the rocks beneath my fingers feel rough to the touch, they are slick, and I find myself digging my nails into each handhole to gain purchase. Though less than I once was before I fell into the darkness, I still have the strength to heave my body up. I stare sightlessly above me into the void and climb. Relentlessly, I strive upward for what feels like an age, until the blackness surrounding me begins to recede, and the cold falls away like a discarded robe. The blackness becomes a deep gray, then a hint of blue green creeps into my vision, and still I climb. The pressure on my skin lessens with each surge upwards, and I am able to register changes in light around me more and more. I can see the soapy, greenish-black rock to which I cling, and I begin to experience sounds again. There's a rhythmic, slow churning surrounding me, almost like the heartbeat of the world. Upwards I strive, ever upwards, towards the light above. I notice tiny creatures all around me. Though moving with more speed, now the pressure is abating. I still move terribly slowly, and they wheel, glide, dip, and weave joyously before me. I do not deign to imagine what such an insignificant intellect would think upon beholding me, though their movements belie deference, bordering on worship. I'll look into their bulging, unblinking eyes and see many emotions, love and longing as they move towards me, fear and loathing as they move aside. I continue rising towards the dazzling blue above me, can almost taste the air of the surface world above. The grayish-green figures surge upwards alongside me, and we all break the surface of the wave. As in unison, the winds and the spray blast away the last vestiges of amnesia in my mind, and my purpose is as clear as the waters lapping at my shins. I feel the heat and the light of the tiny yellow star above up on my back, and flex my dreadful wings wide to catch its warmth. I snatch a few of my servants from the waves with claw and tentacle and feast on them. Even in pain and death, their song to me holds adoration and awe. Long have I slept in the dark, cold, empty relia. Now I am awake, and I hungered. Story for one man, hide and seek, how to play hide and seek alone. The one man hide and seek, aka the one-man tag, is a ritual for contacting the dead. The spirits which are wandering restless on the earth are always looking for bodies to possess. In this ritual, you will summon such a spirit by offering it a doll instead of a human body. Warning: if you have psychic abilities, you may feel unwell or be prone to accidents during the ritual. This is supposed to end the ritual. After this, make sure you dry the doll, burn, and discard it later. Most important, please do not stop this ritual halfway. You must do it through to the end. This is a dangerous ritual, and I will not be responsible for what happens to you if you try. Nothing really happens, but it gives you some ideas anyway. You can hear the changes in the sound. It becomes unsteady, repeats itself like a broken record, and becomes warped towards the end. Story 5. They're here because ... and that's because you're a spoiled brat. Says my mother, you know. It's not great knowing that your parents' last words toward you were pretty damn harsh. But whatever, you know, I got out of there once and for all, so I wouldn't have to deal with the crap school, the crap cops, and so on. Just because I see what goes on when no one else is looking doesn't mean that I'm insane. I didn't wish is upon myself and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone else. This plague, it comes on daily. I start feeling sick and I see things that are hard at work trying to make me and everyone else miserable. I've seen them cause death, sickness, accidents, small injuries, a cut from the razor my father was shaving with. I wouldn't call them imps, but some creatures that don't like being seen. I think they like me for some reason. They like to smell me. I don't like for them to be near me. They sometimes poke at my ribs and nod their heads or shake them and squabble amongst each other. Anyways, I wanted to tell anyone I can about how these little devils work, and how my mother's and others' stories have ended, because I am sure that I don't have much more time than enough to write as they're getting violent. After a while of looking at them and studying them, they look kind of like little humans, only more violent and prone to pranks on us. When stepped on, they'll trip you away, and their pranks are brushed off easily. They'll progress to more brutal ones. I've learned to avert their gazes more than I used to, because there's ways to avoid even death. If you know how these things work, they go for reactions from us. The more surprised we are, the happier they are. So, for example, if you trip and just keep walking, they'll trip you when you're carrying something heavy later. I've seen that happen a few times. They're getting matches to burn down my shelter. At least they can't see me yet. Look, heed my words. If something small bad happens to you without explanation, you might want to provide a bit more of a reaction than you would think too. It may save your life. And look, I think I'll be writing to the living from the dead here, so I'll make this quick. Danny, Dad, I love you. I always have, and I'm sorry for not showing it. Brianna, you have my heart even in death. And no, I did not commit suicide. I know you think I was insane and all, but I don't want you following in my footsteps into the world beyond either. To my sister and cousins, I believe that Brianna and Eric should be married. I hope the kid grows up good, and that you guys can keep your life above the influence and on the path of your God, Ethan. I know for damn sure that you and I and your brothers shared blood. Stay proud of that. Now for the final part of this little testament of mine. My mother and I were in a fight. She claimed that I Washington S. a stubborn brat, and that I was only seeing these things to get attention. See, that's where they got real excited. Kind of angered, but more excited. They knew that someone knew they were there, and I got that horrible feeling again. She went to grab a kitchen knife from a drawer to finish cutting the fish, and those little fuckers made her drop it and tripped her. She landed with the knife centered in her throat. I couldn't take any more of this. I had to take those bastards with me. I grabbed the knife and slashed at a few of them. It didn't work. Their bodies mended back to ether, but they were insulted and decided that I had to go with my mother, not before I could get to my room and lock the door. Funny how weak the little things are all together. But I couldn't just stay there until they went away or I rotted. I had to run. I ran for days. I got away from most of them, but they're scattered everywhere. The few that I tried to kill found me. I'd to kill me, but I got away again. I created a small shelter against them, used my fists and a couple of walls made from wooden poles to protect myself. They don't like resistance. They got a little timid for a while, but then decided to dig me out, and they've created a cooking pit. I think it's for me. They've realized that I'm not in the shelter. Okay, I'm going to face them, If anyone finds this, transport it back to 501 Quail Hill, Hamlet, NC. Thank you. And watch for signs. If you notice them, try to spread this word. I know it sounds crazy. Probably because I'm a spoiled brat. Story 6. In from the cold. Alex sat in the cold blue glow of the steel chamber, monitors projecting their indecision between camera views outside the small compound, each switch depicting the bright white of the lunar sands on a floodlight and the unrelenting black of the empty space above. Life in the small research station was similarly dark, oppressively quiet, with nothing but the clicks of recording equipment. Aikens. A stent hums from computer systems and faint. CLANG. The sharp noise from down a hall pierced the envelope of sound that had wrapped Alec in the monitoring room, and the startle had his heart thumping up in his throat. The dizzying adrenaline surge street arted to calm as he figured one of the backup tapes had probably been vibrated off a shelf by the machinery nearby. Solitary life in a research station had eroded Alec's sense of tidiness and piles. The easiest sorting method for his work. He turned his attention back to the screens. The widescreen to the left was depicting a grid of all camera views in small format. Something on feed 42 caught his attention. For 2A, a form was standing below the camera, looking up, motionless, humanoid by the looks of it. What would be the head seemed slightly tilted. Alec brought it up on the center view to get a better look and felt his stomach twist violently in fear. It was standing still, staring with empty sockets amid a freeze-dried and cracked face of blue skin. It was morbidly recognizable, just enough facial features of his late assistant to make him remember the accident, the airlock seal, and the guilt, the attempt to bury the evidence, and the endless solitude that had resulted. The tilt-up, seemingly fatal in its arrangement, was due to a neck fracture that had been sustained when the compartment depressurized. The eyes had burst or shriveled with the change. Alec was never sure. He didn't want to think about it when he had put on his suit and driven the corpse out into the dunes, the direction faced by camera for 2A. He had looked at the flash-frozen skin and abhorrent shapes from the pressure change as little as possible. But now he was staring right into the same grotesque death that had decided to come back. Why? And why was the body just standing there, staring, so motionless, so frozen, clang, frozen? It wasn't standing still. The feed was frozen. The time stamp on the video wasn't moving. It was stuck at 16:25. Alec's fears and mind raced as he looked to the right to check the current clock. 16:40. Clang. The nose, the time. The rest of the feeds, those that were live, hadn't shown anything. Alec began to panic. There was an airlock deer for 2A, one of a pair. The sister airlock had been his assistant's. Coffin. He brought up the access logs, noting with dread that all access keypads had been left active, as there had never been anything to keep out. No one knew the codes but the two researchers. 16:28. Access granted. Login Richards. Code ******** inside. It had gained entry 12 minutes ago. No, wait. Not inside. Breathed Alec with limited relief. There was no subsequent entry or the inner door. It was still in the airlock. The nose must be it beating on the door. He knew he had to the manual lock. Keep it out. Maybe it would leave. Summoning up any shred of courage he could manage, Alex stepped out of the monitoring room and turned to face down the sterile metal hallway that ended at the twin airlocks. The black sheen of the THI-CK internal security barrier covered the left entry, while the functional right door sat uncovered, naked and foreboding. The frosted, thick plexiglass porthole was empty. No hollow eyes, no broken CK or blue flaky skin staring back at him like with a camera, just silence and solitude. The silence, the staccato death knell had stopped. Unsure of what this meant, Alec walked towards the door, an undecided pace between hurriedly reaching the lock mechanism and freezing in place with fear. Every step expecting the face that horrid call D, and living face bent at the wrong angle to reappear in the dark, transparent circle of the door. He finally reached the door panel, and with unsteady hands engaged the manual lock. He even dared to peek out the porthole to confirm that it had left. Nothing to see, just the empty airlock and open expanse of sterile lit moonscape outside the external hatch, which sat halfway ajar. A light breeze crept down the hall and stirred Alex and kept hair ever so slightly against the back of his neck as he continued to stare out in fear and disbelief. It dawned on him as he heard the approaching shuffle of ragged boots on the metal planking back down the hall. The only breezes in the pressurized facility came from airlock use, rooted in fear. Catching hints of ragged research uniform and broken skin behind his own reflection in the porthole, he began to reach again for the airlock door panel. Story 7. Never again. I was 17 when she came. I'd been living with my abusive mother for 17 long, painful years. It was around midnight, and my mother was already asleep. So when the 3 soft raps at the front door came, it was me who answered. An odd-looking little girl stood there, with cheeks pale and colorless, blonde hair and braided pigtails, pink dress torn a little at the hem, feet bare and turning, cheeks lightly blue from the cold of winter, and black eyes, fathomless, deep black eyes. I quickly let her in, thinking of how horridly underdressed she was. It wasn't until later I'd wonder why she'd been shivering, or even question as to why she was here in the first place. I got her into the living room, wrapping her little form in a thick afghan my grandmother knitted. She held it, though it didn't seem to affect her, and I smiled. "What's your name, sweetie?" A long silence passed, in which she stared at me. I was beginning to be discomforted by her black gaze when she parted her lips and spoke in a soft voice. "Lacey Morgan." I nodded, smiling again. "You can stay here tonight, Lacey," I said, motioning to the couch. She curled up in a little ball, black eyes still on me, and I exited the room. That night I slept soundly, not worrying about my moth beating me or the strange little girl on my couch. When morning came and I trudged into the kitchen, I was greeted with a coffee mug to the shoulder. I gave a feeble shout of pain, staring at my mother. "What the hell did you do? Why is there dirt on the couch?" she shouted, confusing me greatly. Upon investigating, I found that Lacey had vanished, the only proof she'd been there being some dirt that must have fallen off her dress or feet. I took responsibility, earning myself a strong hit to my cheek, then left for school. While there I heard something that sent chills through my spine. Lacey Morgan was found dead last night. I passed the day waiting for any more news on the subject, but found none. Upon arriving home, The news was broadcasting a live report on her, though. Lacey Morgan, 6 years of age, was reported dead at 7 last night. Her body was located in the backyard, buried there in her pink dress. So far, there has been no sign of her mother, Marisa Morgan, who is suspected to be the killer. Marisa has reportedly abused Lacey multiple times and may be responsible for her death. Suddenly, a picture of Lacey appeared on the screen. She appeared very close to how she had when I met her, blonde hair in braids, pink dress, pale face. Only her cheeks had color, and her eyes were by blue. To most this would seem unimportant, but to me it was. She died before arriving at my house, if what the newscaster said was true. Died hours before I tried to play it off, going about my business. I went to bed early so as not to have to see my mother. It was around midnight when I awoke to cool fingers stroking the bruise on my cheek. I sighed, leaning into the small hand. "Never again?" Lacey whispered, before her hand vanished. Not 10 minutes later, I heard my mother screaming. I rushed into her bedroom, nearly fainting at what I saw. My mom was thrashing wildly on her bed, a small creature having buried its face into her chest. I could hear the sound of flesh tearing, and my mother's screaming increased in volume. I wished I had gotten up. Later on, I'd tell myself I hadn't, but I had. So when Lacey pulled back from the gaping hole in my mother's chest cavity, I had a plain view of her razor-sharp teeth, glinting in the light, glinting with my mother's blood. She smiled innocently at me for a moment, before swiftly tearing out my mother's jugular. That time I did faint. When I came to, I was in my bed. I walked to my mom's room, morbid curiosity getting the best of me. Upon opening the door, I found the room empty. The bed made neatly, as if my mom had left for work early. The only oddities were the dirty child's footprints and the open window, showing that Lacey had in fact visited. I never saw my mother again, and I never missed her either. I eventually got married, and we had a child together. I named her Lacey. Recently, I noticed the neighbor's daughter has all sorts of scrapes and bruises on her arms. I've started watching their home, and the other day I saw something odd. A little girl running barefoot, rough their backyard up to their back door. It was around midnight, so I couldn't be for sure, but I thought she met my eyes with her black ones, and I could swear she mouthed to words at me. Never again. Bonus story. Story 1. The Smiley Man. It was a normal Friday night in Glasgow, Scotland. Clubs were clearly visible, the bright lights and the blaring nose dominating the night. But with light, there was also darkness. There was one almost abandoned housing estate where nothing was there and everything was silent, almost as if a bubble had been wrapped around the derelict housing block. No one went there because it was so dark and eerie. Even during the day, a permanent gray cloud seemed to hang over it. Even the birds didn't sing. But tonight, someone was going there. A 12-year-old boy called Jack, who had snuck out at 11 o'clock at night to go to this place with his friend, 13-year-old Patty. The two boys climbed the rusted fence. Patty had a flashlight, but due to low battery, was very dim. They followed the bush clearing to the housing estate, and it was pitch black. They emerged from the clearing to see a long row of blocky houses. In the eerie silence, they walked towards an alleyway in between two of the houses. The flashlight wasn't going to last much longer, and then they would have to entrust only the dim glow of a half-moon to guide them. They went into the alleyway, Jack first. They found a dumpster and looked at the ground to see a red substance had stained the ground, leaving a trail which led to behind the dumpster. Jack checked it out and immediately gasped with shock. Hey, Argggghh. Patty, taken by surprise, ran out of the alleyway. It's a dead body. Oh my God. What do we do? Jack screamed, barely squeezing the words out through his state of sheer panic. Sure enough, a dead body lay there, headless. It lay there. It had been eviscerated, disemboweled, mangled, and cut up in every possible way. Jack looked towards Patty, expecting some form of reaction, but Patty wasn't listening. He was already concentrated in what was behind Jack. Watch out. The knife cut into the side of Jack's neck and blood poured out, not the geyser that you see in the movies, but a steady pour down his neck, onto his shirt. Jack fell to the ground, motionless. Patty shone his dim light on the creature that had just killed his best friend. It had a black hooded shirt on with long sleeves. On the shirt it had an upside-down Illuminati pyramid symbol printed on it. Also printed were the words, "Run, fight, but there's nothing you can do. You can be sure, though, that Smiley is coming for you." The creature also wore a pair of black jeans, but the most distinct feature, for certain, was its face, blood red, as if someone had ripped the skin from its face, and slightly glowing blue eyes. The creature's mouth was also fixed in a permanent yellow closed smile, which stretched almost up to its eyes, but Patty could only see it for a few seconds, and then his light completely ran out, shrouding the alley in complete darkness. His best friend's body was dragged further in and was swallowed by the darkness. Patty covered his ears as the creature let out an ear-piercing fit of hysterical laughing. Patty dared to take a few steps into the darkness. And then the creature took him. With blinding speed, the creature rushed towards him and stabbed Patty in the neck and held him up like a piece of meat. Patty took one last gaze into the creature's eyes. The creature once again laughed hysterically, but this time Patty couldn't cover his ears, and blood began draining from his ears as they succumbed to the pressure, and Patty slowly and painfully succumbed altogether. The asylum had claimed its next victims, but they surely wouldn't be the last. Story to the dream. I'm running as fast as I can down the road ahead of me. It's a long gravel road, and as far as my eyes can see there is no end. I'm in heels. I've tripped and stumbled and nearly fallen countless times. But I can't risk stopping long enough to take them off. I can hear them behind me, chasing me. There are 3 of them. They are tall and fast, and they're each wearing the same black robes and mask. I don't know why they're chasing me, and I don't remember or how it started. All I can remember is running. Suddenly I see another one, and he is coming toward me from the opposite direction. I begin to panic. I consider dashing into the trees on either side of the road, but surely I'd twist my ankle and be doomed. No, I must keep running. I must stay on this road and hope for the best. My heart thrashes wildly in my chest as I reach the figure, but he continues past me. A moment later I hear screaming behind me, and I can't help but to turn and look. He's attacked them. All 3 of my pursuers are lying motionlessly on the ground, presumably dead. I see no weapon, so I'm clueless as to how he's done it. I've stopped running now, and I stare wide-eyed as the figure approaches me. Thank you, I stammer nervously. The figure's breaths come loud and raspy through the hole at the mouth of their mask. We both stand still for what seems like an eternity before they finally respo. And you wouldn't be thanking me if you knew what I looked like. I'm surprised at the voice. It's female. I watch curiously and more than a little scared as the figure raises her hand up to her mask and slowly removes it. I scream, this person has my face, only it's been beaten and mangled. She has two black eyes, a bloody, broken nose, and a busted lip. What's going on here? I cry. She stares blankly at me. I cowl. Tiet, let them do to you what they've done to the rest. She says, it's time for you to return now. I open my mouth to demand a real answer, but then I start to feel very tired. I try to fight it, but I can't. I fall to the ground. I'm in a hospital bed. When I wake up, I moan in pain because my head feels like it's splitting open, and my parents rush to my side. I hadn't noticed them. Sweetie, are you okay? My mother asks, taking my hand in hers and kissing me on the cheek. I shut my eyes and try to remember what happened. I had been watching the news. There was an interesting story going that people were mysteriously dying in their sleep. Not unusual for the elderly, but these were people my age. Autopsies repeatedly reveal that the victims were perfectly healthy. I must have fallen asleep, but that dream, it felt so real, so eerie. Yeah, Mom, I'm fine, I answer. What happened? My mother looks at my father, as if to ask him if he wants to take over. He shakes his head. No one really knows, dear. She tells me you weren't answering my calls, so I got worried. I rushed over and used the spare key above the door to let myself in. I found you unconscious on your couch. You were holding this. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a mask. The mask from my dream. Story 3, the face that watches. There's a strange face in the woods outside my window. Mom and Dad won't listen, though. It stares and stares. Little brother hates hearing about it. He thinks it is meant to scare him. The story of out the man with no face. The face watches me all hours of the night and day. Big sister says that it is all lies. She says that Mom and Dad should call and hit doctors. It doesn't matter how many times I tell them about him, the man in the dark. No one listens. I don't like when Mom says I have to play outside because I have to be close to him. He is too tall. He is too thin. Like he doesn't eat. The man doesn't move when he watches me. He just makes me cold. Makes it so I can't run. I don't like when he is around, and I think I should stay away from the fence. Mom has to drag me inside for dinner because I can't stop staring. She is angry at me for being out so late in the cold. Can't she see him? The tall man that is now standing in our yard. After dinner tonight, Mom is making me sit in my room. No TV because I didn't come when she called. I sit at my desk with my homework, trying to finish it before Dad comes in to check. When I see him standing in the yard, the man without a face, the tall man standing too close to my window. He is always there now. Even when I point him out to Mom and Dad, I don't know why they can't see him. My dreams are full of him now. He's standing in the background as I do real magic for my friends. He stands in my dreams watching. I have told him to leave me alone, but only in my dreams. Mom call Ed the doctor today. She says I am very sick. I keep coughing up blood and I can't sleep. She says I'm not eating very much. She tells him of the tall man I see. I don't think it matters anymore. The doctor says I will need to go to hospital. He says that maybe something is wrong with my brain and I will need scans. The coughing is bad now. It hurts a lot. The tall man is still watching. Mom sits with me in the night time to make sure I am okay. She asks me what I am humming and I can't tell her. I don't know the words. I didn't even know I was humming. She tucks me in and kisses my ear. D. The tall man isn't outside my window anymore. He hasn't been there for a whole day, but he is still in my dreams, his long, long arms reaching for me. The music is loud in my ears. I can see Mum reading to me. Her lips are moving, but the music is so loud. I cough and cough. Lots of blood come up this time. She sits on the end of my bed, staring at him. He waiting for it to stop, but it doesn't. I wish it would because I need to tell her something. The tall man isn't outside the window anymore. The tall man isn't in the yard. He isn't even in the woods. The coughing is too much, and I feel like I am falling asleep. I try to fight it very hard back. I need Mummy to know. The tall man is the corner now. He is in my room. Story for Faceless Shallow. My name is Diogo, and I live in a small village located in central Portugal. Things are quiet here. I go to school. I have many friends and even have a girlfriend. It's all going great, and this despite my handicap. At least that's the way I think about it. Indeed, you see, I can foretell when a person is going to die. All I need is a look at his face, either on a TV, a photograph, or when I am in front of someone, the difference being that I see them with. Out of face, I can see their heads with their ears and hair, but there's no mouth, no nose, no eyes or eyebrows. It all started when I was a kid. Back at home, there was this picture of the family on the fireplace. Grandmother, grandfather, my parents, my big sister, and I. At some point I couldn't help to notice grandmother's face had all but vanished from the picture. Of course, this remained unnoticed by the whole family, and everyone just kept asking me to be quieter and to cause no trouble. But some days later, grandmother passed away following a heart attack. I didn't immediately see the connection, nor did my parents. It's not like she was in her prime, you know. Then it was grandfather's turn. His face had vanished from the picture here again. Once again I tried to tell my parents, but that only led to more fighting. But I couldn't argue with the facts, as some days after that, grandfather died as well, from a stroke. That time my parents could no longer deny the truth and not believe me. They did ask me to keep it all a secret and not tell anyone. They say, that is a curse, and feared this could lead to trouble. This kind of ability would tend to make people suspicious should this be turning out to be true. It all went smoothly from there. This handicap was not all that difficult to bear, and I thank God for that. I did see faceless people out in the street, or when I watched TV. I told my loved ones about Michael Jackson days before it actually happened, and they managed to make a bundle from buying collections of CDs before everyone else did and selling every one of those for a ridiculous amount. That is not a particularly nice thing to do, but it was my gift, my curse, and I had to make do with it, so I figure I might as well make full use of that. You might be asking yourself, why am I telling you all that now? Why am I revealing that secret to the whole wide world now? What happened? Do I want to know if somebody else possesses the same ability? No, don't care. Do I want to be famous? Far from it. The truth is, my dear friends, as of this morning, I haven't seen a single face. The TV people are faceless. All my Facebook friends are faceless. Same goes for all the people out in the streets. Same goes for me in the mirror. I don't know what's going to happen, but I suggest you start living from now on as you never have before. Have all the fun you can, dance away, make love, pray, do whatever you want, because in a few eyes we'll all see each other in the next world. Story 5 Malignantry 6 Eyes and Bone couldn't focus enough to see. Faster and faster they went, bringing with them my head, my neck probably reaching its breaking point. Sweat as well as drenched hair covering my face completely blind and deep panicking, I suddenly heard an alien noise behind me. My instincts suddenly came back, and I wildly divided the mask of hair gripping my face and turned around in less than a second. The carcass of a rabbit was lying in front of me. Carrots were penetrating its skin in an obscene imitation of a hedgehog as it lay there, marinating in its own blood. Exactly the same scene I witnessed when I was 9 years old, and it all began. For the next few seconds I went through a jarring trip down memory lane, recalling the events that had stalked and ruined my short life. When I was 9, the darkness called out to me through the open window behind my bed. I don't remember if I was sleeping before I heard it, but I remember being painfully awake for the entire duration of the voice. It was so demanding and clear, but it was also raspy with a horrifying edge to it. The voice told me to go outside into the dark and find the bushes in our backyard. It told me to just go there and wait. After that, only a couple of things stand out amidst the blur that remains of tea. At night, having no choice but to obey. Not really being scared, only experiencing cold way too intense for a summer evening. Unknown, but morbidly beautiful crimson flowers surrounding the bushes and the rabbit placed on top of them. I remember the dark speaking to me yet again. I remember the last thing it told me before staying silent forever. Once every day of birth until 17 births are reached. Recalling the voice woke me up from my painful reminiscing, and I started screaming. I was 17 now, and several times I had tried to avoid the inevitable gruesome scene. It didn't matter, though. A different animal was presented to me in a grotesque and seemingly intentional icy way every year without fail. A snake turned into a centipede, a duck with the head of a swan, desire, jealousy, and regret, and I could never stop myself from following the dark. I was still screaming hellishly, and as more and more blood started leaking inside my throat and madness was tightening its grip, I felt the cold draw closer with it, just to drown out my mix of rasp, screams and gargling. The only thing I saw except debris and my own hair flowing with the tempest surrounding me was the unearthly glow of the crimson flowers below me. Suddenly a sound, startling me more than I can put in words. It sounded like a man filled with regret struggling to draw a final breath. It echoed through my skull and escaped my mouth in a helpless, inaudible moan. Why the intense wind didn't block out that disgusting sound, I will never know. All I could do now was wonder what dark deed was to be done upon me. A door made of ice and bone was now in front of me, waiting for it to open was true agony. Not a second too late, it opened and I hurried inside. Complete dark and silence. All I noticed, not even wit, any of the 5 senses, was an icy stare. I let go a relieved smile as the last remnants of consciousness blissfully faded away. Story 7, Bunk Bed. No one will come for you. That's what he said every night as I lay entombed in the fears I had long ago resigned myself to. My brother loves to torment me. He always has. He's always taken great pleasure. You're in my fear and misery. His idea of fun. When I was 3 years old, I vividly remember every night, at around 9 o'clock, my mother would tell me it was time for bed. She would tuck me into the bottom bunk of an old steel, self-assembled bunk bed. She would kiss my forehead before saying good night, turning the light off and leaving the room, closing the door tight. As I lay staring at the dim light of the room, taking in the various silhouettes of the furniture, I would hear the springs of the top bunk creak and give. I would close my eyes and silently cry, knowing my brother's cruel game was about to begin. Every night was the same. My brother would growl at me in his malevolent croak about all the pain and misery awaiting me. No one will come for you, he would begin. No one will save you when I take you down to the other place. I would lie there, my body cocooned in the catatonic terror, only able to silently weep and listen as my brother would describe the various tortures he had thought up for me, like breaking all my bones, one by one, so slowly that, by the slow, deliberate snap of my last rib, my fingers would have already somewhat healed, allowing him to start again and again, forever. He would tell me that one day he would deliver on his threats, but for now, it was more fun to just tell me what he had in store. My brother loves to torment me, so yet this was my childhood up until I turned 7. My father decided that it was time to get rid of the bunk beds. He had bought them when my mother was pregnant. We live in a small flat in London. Not a lot of room at all. So when my mother told my father she was expecting twins, my brother and I, my mother says he was so insane with joy, like a hyperactive sea, hilled on Christmas Eve. He went out to the bed store that day and bought that damn steel bunk bed, saying it was the perfect solution for our lack of room, even though he knew the bunk bed wouldn't be used until we were at least 2.5 years old. He had our bedroom fully decorated and furnished, complete with bunk bed, 2 months before we were born. I say we. Sadly, my brother died whilst my mother was giving birth, so I should say before I was born. I don't know much about what happened exactly. I'm very hesitant to ask my parents, as the mention of the subject sends the two into tears, and well, it's just not spoken about in our home. I can't believe how well I still remember those days. I'm 27 now. I've got my own little flat, an okay job, and a beautiful collection of sleeping pills. I'm taking a whole bottle tonight. I'm going to finally sleep tonight. He's not going to keep me awake tonight. Oh God, I miss that bunk bed. At least when he had the top bunk, I couldn't see him. My brother loves to torment me.